Imagine your business not just surviving, but thriving. Your wealth locked in, your opportunities exploding, and your family's future built on a legacy that never fades. I'm Leah Garcia, a financial strategist and insurance professional. I help entrepreneurs and high-growth enterprises protect, distribute, and transfer their wealth through my proven system, the Wall of Wealth. I unite your experts into one cohesive strategy because the most expensive line on your balance sheet isn't debt or taxes, it's conflicting advice. Ready to align every dollar with your mission and turn today's success into tomorrow's divine promise. Wealth today, Dynasty tomorrow.
Happy Wealthy Wednesday, champions. Come on in, come on in. It's going to be a fun day in the neighborhood. Absolutely. You know, I love Wealthy Wednesday because I just love talking about wealth and I love to highlight my guest speakers. I truly do. I believe that collaborations are the new currency. So we got to have some collaborations. We got to shout each other out. We got to be willing to send other people referrals and open doors for them. I'm curious, how many doors have you opened for your fellow entrepreneurs, business owners this week? I've been so blessed. Miss Nick Angai Galindo, she is our brilliance behind guiding brilliant writers. She sends me so many referrals for her incredible authors, and I love that. So I'm just curious, who are you opening doors for? Who has opened doors for you? Do you reciprocate? How many doors do you open? I think that is something we really need to be more aware of and really actually do it. It's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to be about it. It's another thing to actually do it. So come on in, grab your fuzzy bunny slippers, grab something nice to drink. I've got my coconut water here. We're going to have a great conversation. We're going to learn some things and we're going to have some fun. So today's guest speaker, like I shared, she actually came to me as a referral. And we had an incredible coffee chat. And one thing that struck me with her was that her energy. You know, you just kind of meet some people sometimes. It's kind of like sometimes you meet someone and they don't really have incredible energy and kind of like you're shaking their hand and it's kind of like a wet fish. Do you know guys what I'm talking about? And other times you meet someone and you're just magnetized to them. You're just attracted to them. You just feel like, wow, they are someone who's going to impact other people. And that is absolutely how I felt about her story. And then I learned her story. And I said, this is somebody we definitely have to highlight. She's actually, everything she does is rooted in unshakable conviction. What is your unshakable conviction? What are you convicted about? Put it in the chat. We want to know what your unshakable conviction. She believes in being fully seen and act as courageous and be as courageous as you can. Whether she's on stage, behind the lens, or on a microphone, she has a business of helping women to stop shrinking and claim the life and businesses that their legacy has always meant for them. At the young age of only 21 years old, back in 1992, which seems like the Stone Age, right? But at that time, she received a devastating HIV diagnosis. At that time, we didn't know much about the illness. I remember there was so much fear about it. It was basically a death sentence. We thought if you get diagnosed with this, you have a very short lifespan. Imagine being only 21 years old and receiving that type of a diagnosis. Now we know so much more and all of that, but can you imagine at that time, what would you feel like? I mean, you haven't even started with your life. Well, what I loved about her, a couple of things I loved about her, but the other thing I loved about her was I saw her picture on this book. You guys got to see this. You guys got to see this. And I'm going to bring her up, but I want you guys to see her picture because it says everything about who she is. She flipped the script and did a cartwheel. I love it. So please give it up for my incredible guest speaker, the one and only Miss Tonya Boggs. Welcome to Wealthy Wednesday. How are you doing? Great to see you.
I'm doing great. And what an introduction. Thank you so much.
Well, it's all true. It is absolutely all true. So tell us a little bit about you, Miss Tonya. I mean, like I said, I loved your story. I love reading your chapter. And it truly is, your energy really is infectious. You really just have this beautiful aura around you. And it's instantly noticeable. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a personal branding photographer. I've been doing that for a long time. I'm also a podcaster. I started my own podcast about a year and a half ago. I love it. It's so much fun. And I'm also a public speaker. So I get on stages and tell my story. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
I love that. Yeah, I saw your picture of public speaking. So kind of take us back there. 21 years old. I was trying to dust off my memories. What was I doing when I was 21 years old? Well, I had a child at that point. I was married, really just trying to figure life out still. I mean, I just think back and it's almost laughable on what I believed was life. Right. I mean, at that point, I'm not putting my words on you, but I know I had kind of really such a limited, grew up on food stamps and welfare, really had a limited view of life and of people and really what was possible. So take us back to that 21-year-old Tonya receiving this diagnosis.
Oh gosh, it was devastating. It was kind of a journey to even get to that place. Um, I had found these swollen lymph nodes on the back of my neck one time. I ended up in the ER. Asked the doc because my stomach, something was going on with my stomach. I asked the doctor about the lymph nodes, and he said, "Oh, that's just your immune system. You're probably fighting something off. If they don't disappear in about 6 months, you should probably go talk to somebody about them." Well, they didn't disappear. And so I went to the doctor and they ran a bunch of tests. They said I had mono. I'm not even sure if that's true. Then they said I had Epstein-Barr. And and so finally it ended up they wanted me to go see somebody about the swollen lymph nodes. So at that point they thought could have had Hodgkin's. Um, and so which would have caused those lymph nodes inflammatory throughout my body. So after they did the biopsy, it takes like 2 months to get your final results. So kind of a three-step process. So the good news right off the table was they didn't find any cancer. The second round they said, we haven't found anything, but we're really waiting for the final results. And when they called me, they said you don't have cancer. That's the good news. We're a little concerned there's something off about your blood that we don't understand, and we'd like you to take an HIV test. And I hung up the phone and I never told anybody for a year. I told no one about that conversation. And I just went into denial. I'm young. I was probably 20 at the time when I found that out. And I just sort of kept living my life with a little bit of that worry tickling the back of my brain. And at some point, I was like, okay, just pull the Band-Aid off and let's go find out. And I remember actually floating the idea of getting a test at the dinner table. I was with my brothers and my dad one night, and I was like, I'm gonna go get an HIV test. And my dad said, "Why would you do that? You're not even in a high risk group." And I was like, okay. But I went and got one anyway. And I didn't tell anybody that I got the test. And back then it took about 2 weeks to get the results. So on a Friday afternoon, I got a crazy call while I was at work from a nurse who said the doctor wants you to schedule an appointment to come in and get your test results. And my heart absolutely sank because I knew right then and there what they were going to tell me. And I burst into a meeting unannounced and asked my dad if he would drive me to my doctor's appointment because I was living in the Boston at the time, and I had taken the red line that day to get to work, so I didn't have a car. And so he, without question. He just said, "Gentlemen, I got to leave." And he left the meeting and he drove me to my doctor's appointment. And he started trying to talk me out of it. Like, "You're going to be fine. You always have to go get results in person." And I was like, "You have no idea." So then I, I started sort of telling him the backstory. And he still was sort of dismissing it. And when I walked in there, when the doctor gave me the news, I was sitting there by myself, and his voice was quivering, and he was like, "You're HIV positive." And I just started bawling, and quietly I whispered, "I'm never going to get married and have a baby." And I was just traumatized because that, back then that was like all I really wanted, right? Was to have a kid, get married. And I had a first date that night. So as we drove back to my dad's house to tell my brothers and call my mom, he said, "You have a first date tonight, don't you? You need to call and cancel that." And that's when everything shifted for me. I said, "Absolutely not. I'm not going to change the way I live my life, because if I do, I lose the battle." Right. So I'm like, I'm keeping my date. I'm going on this date. Now, my joke is, maybe it was the cute boy that made me keep my date. Maybe it was wisdom of a 21-year-old dropping in to sort of inform me, like, "Don't you dare stop living your life the way that you want to." Either way, that was the decision I made. And so I recognize now where we have choice and where we dismiss our opportunities to make decisions. 2 weeks later, I was at the doctor's office where I was going to get my long-term care, expecting to hear that I would only have like 18 months to live, because that was the sort of average amount of time. And this woman came in, she was like an angel. And she just immediately started telling me about these people, a group of people who had AIDS, who had no immune system, and yet they were living 15 to 20 years. And they didn't understand why, but they were studying them. And I sort of grasped onto that bit of hope that she gave me. And she said, "I don't think we'll ever have a cure in your lifetime, but I do think we'll be able to stop the train. And it's my job to keep you healthy until then." And so when I left that
Wow.
appointment, I left with a decision that I was going to be one of those people. So in both of those moments, in a very short, condensed period of time, I made decisions that affected my mindset, right? And the way I looked at the world. And I was clear that I was going to live the best life I could, no matter how short or long it was. And that doesn't mean that I wasn't devastated. It doesn't mean that I didn't struggle mentally. I did. Every time a funeral procession would go by, I would just start crying, thinking, "Am I going to die young?" So I definitely, those voices were still there, but I kept my belief in my choices that I was going to live the best life I could with the time I had, and that I was going to be one of those people who, that the medication would catch up with me and I would be okay. And, this year I think is my 34th or 35th year after my diagnosis. So I did a pretty good job. And
You're an overachiever. You're an Oprah student.
yeah. So, it's just living a life with gratitude and with a conscious awareness of the stories my head might try to tell me, and making decisions in spite of what my head is telling me, right? Because we do have fear that creeps up. And I talk about that a lot on stage, like where, sneaky ways that fear shows up, and it disguises itself until it becomes apparent, until it whispers something in your ear. And I'm like, "Okay, you can shut up and sit down now. Now I know you're trying to drive the bus. Now I'm going to drive the bus. You can just sit in the back seat or get out of the car." So that's kind of how I've driven my life, is with this faith and gratitude, and knowing that I have a purpose in this world. And so part of what I hope that I gift to people is nobody is promised time, right? At 21, we feel invincible, but how many people die early? I mean, I lost a brother in his mid 20s, just out of the middle of nowhere. I should have outlived him, technically. So you're not promised time. And so what are you going to do with the time you have until it's taken away from you? Right. And so how do you want to spend it? And that's part of what I talk to people about on my podcast. It's part of what I talk about from stage is, what is holding you back and why are you waiting? Because this idea that someday I'll start traveling, someday after I retire, like we have all these ways that we push things aside, and it's fear. Why aren't you traveling now? Why aren't you doing those things now? Do them today. There's no better day to start what you're moving towards your dreams than today, right? Don't wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. It's always now, now. What are you doing now? What are you doing now? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I 1,000% agree with you. In my career, one of the things I do is I sell life insurance. And a lot of people think you just go and pick up, just like a book, you can just go ahead and pick up some life insurance off the shelf and go ahead and purchase it. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to go through a full underwriting process. A real policy, you have to go through a full underwriting process. And you got to get lab work. They're going to check your medical background. They're going to look at DMB. They're going to look at all these different things. And typically, 95% of the time, it is kind of work that way. Okay. You kind of pick it off the shelf. But every now and then I have to deliver some news to a client because I never want them to get a letter in the mail that says you're declined. And this happened recently to a young man. I mean, he's like 51 years old. And he's like, I'm in great health, Leah. I do this, I do that. And I had to have a conversation with him that he needed to go and see his doctor ASAP. So They don't tell us everything.
Right.
But it was enough and the client gave me their results. They're like, I don't understand this. Please help me because I don't know what this means. I'm like, don't pass go. Don't collect $200. You need to get to the doctor ASAP. And so what I'm saying is I'm really just reinforcing we don't know. It is one conversation. It is one decision that flips one way or another. You cross the street and I've heard the most crazy stories. You just never know. And really what struck me with what you were sharing, Tonya, is you made a decision. And decision means you cut off every option. You don't think about anything else. You focus on, I'm getting chills right now. Like what you said is really, really powerful. I can't imagine at 21. I love this comment by Nick Ungai Galindo. She says at 21, she was a mom and she was clueless. Listen, I'm thinking back when I was 21, and if my husband, I was married at the time, but if he didn't like bring me flowers for Valentine's Day or something, that would have been so devastating to me and upsetting. I can't even imagine. Like you got this diagnosis and you immediately went into, I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be that percentage. I'm going to be the one that flips the script. And like Nick says, and she highlighted here, you said, you know what? Not that. Nuh-uh. Watch me. Not why me, but watch me. So I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Because I think most people at that young of an age, or even today, as we're older and wiser, might go into the wallowing, might kind of feel sorry or why me. Where do you think that comes from that you instantly went into, listen, watch me, I'm going to be the exception and make a decision?
Yeah. Well, I think first, I just want to address the idea that people who wallow or struggle, I think it's okay to do that. I think it's okay to have a pity party sometimes, right? You need to feel the emotions, you need to go through that. But then it's like, okay, pick yourself up, dust yourself off. What are you going to do now? And I think when people think, why did this happen to me? I've turned that around and say, why is this happening for me? Because it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And the question is, what is the lesson you're meant to learn here? Or what are the options you have to choose from here? Those are pivotal moments where you can reframe whatever's going on. And so I think for me, where it came from was I lived a life in survival mode as a kid. And I was a tomboy and I didn't want to get put in a box. I sort of pushed, I was a little rebellious child who, don't tell me what to do. And so when people would say to me, you can't do that, because you're a girl, or you can't do that because we can't afford it. My response was always, okay, watch me. Like, I am a little bit competitive and tell me I can't do something. And I'm like, watch me do it now. Now you've challenged me. So I think there's a little bit of my wiring that put me in that position. And one of the stories I tell in my chapter is that at 16, I got the opportunity to go dance with Alvin Ailey for the summer in New York. I was a contemporary dancer when I was young. And I told my dad, he seemed to be on board. And then he said, we can't afford it. And of course, my response was, okay, well, watch me. So I called all of his friends and I asked them for donations for garage sale and told them what I was trying to do.
Oh
And
my.
so I just drove around and picked up everybody's things that they didn't want anymore, the clutter they were hiding in their closets. They were very generous. And the day of the garage sale, I put a for sale sign on my car, my precious MGB GT that I had just bought like 2 months earlier, but only worked for about 2 weeks. And an actor came along. I lived in LA back then, like I do now again. And he's wanted to test drive the car. And I was like, sure. And as I went to grab the keys, I was praying, like, please,
Please
please
work.
let this car, let the car start. Please let the car start. And so it did. And he took it for a test drive and he came back and he paid me $50 more than what I paid for it. And so by the time the day was over, I had raised about $2,000. And so I was off by myself for the summer in New York. And the only thing my dad could do, he was a minister at Wilshire United Methodist Church, which is a huge church. And so I was called the flagship Methodist church for on the West Coast. And then Riverside United Methodist Church in New York is the big one in New York. And so he called New York and he's talked to the pastor and he said, can you put out a call to any of the people, in any of your congregation who will house my child for the summer? And this single woman who was she was a food stylist. She had an extra room in her apartment and she hosted me. And she made the best blueberry muffins, first of all. She was a baker. Um, and she didn't try to mother me. She just let me do what I wanted when I wanted it. I didn't have to check in with her. I usually would tell her if I was going to be late at night. But yeah, she just let me come and go as I pleased. And I had a fabulous time. And yeah, so
It's
that's just how
incredible.
I'm always going to make it happen. You put an obstacle in front of me and I'm going to figure out a way to get around that.
That's awesome. That I adore your 16-year-old self. That is so incredible. Like you just got outside the box. I just saw this story of this young man who wanted to do a project and it was going to cost, a couple $100,000. So he asked for a penny from like all these people, end up raising all
Mhm.
this money. It's not like you said, it's not why me, but why is this happening for me? What is the lesson? There's a lesson. And my mentor taught me this years ago. In every adversity, there's a seed of a benefit, but only if we look for it. If we don't look for the benefit, it'll fly right by us. If we don't look for that lesson, we'll never catch it. We'll never enjoy the fruits of that. A lot of times, and I'm going to put my hand up to say yes, a lot of times we go through the suffering and we get nothing from that. We just suffer. Okay? We got to grab the juice. We got to grab the lesson. We got to see what is that seed of benefit and cultivate that. I want to welcome a few people who have joined us. Miss Leah, thank you for joining us. I love this comment by her. She said, sometimes I have to tell the committee in my head to shut up. I know it's me, myself, and I. The deepest conversations I have are when this morning I was at the gym and I didn't realize, but I was talking out loud. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm in the dressing room getting dressed and you know, I was having this intense, it was a great conversation. You should have been there. You would have loved it. But I thought it was just like thinking about it and suddenly I'm having this whole conversation. So yeah, we can get that. And sometimes it's, you know, great, but then sometimes that committee, sometimes that committee is not there for us. But thank you for joining us. It's great to see you. And then we have, of course, my good friend, Miss Coral from across the pond. If you don't know Coral, you got to get to know Miss Coral. She's a cheerleader. She is a Christian coach and mentor for women who want to hear the voice of God. And she's a traveling lady. I'm not sure what the traveling's about, but we got to get her on the show to talk about it. And then we have my one and only, my dear brother. He is Chris Monastery. He is the one who is really a crusade to helping save teen lives from distracted driving. He has a website. He's got merch. He's got a book. He's done so much. He has a heart to help people. I'm waiting for my sweatshirt to arrive, so I can't wait till it gets here. A lot of great people who joined us, and we've got some great comments here. So Miss Tonya, let's see, there is somebody else here. Yeah, right here. This is a great comment. You can do whatever you want, whether your boy or girl. And I would say even whether your body thinks it can or it cannot. One thing I've learned through my 61 years young, we have more in the tank than we think.
Yeah.
When we think that we can't go another step, boy, if something that was on the other side, if you had to save somebody you loved, you watch how strong you are. So we all have more in the tank than we think. So what is your more in the tank, Miss Tonya?
I think, you know, when you have more in your, like when your tank shows up full for you, like refills itself and you have more strength than you realized, I think that means you're in alignment, right? And you're going for the thing that's really important to you. I think when our tank is feeling drained, we need to look at that and say, this is misalignment, right? This is sucking me dry. And do I need to let this go? Because sometimes we hold on to behaviors that we're comfortable with because we're used to them, right? Like survival mode. I got very used to being in survival mode, but I need to let that go. And so, you know, you have to shed that skin. And so that's how I sort of think about my energy level. If something's energizing, it means I want more of it, or I'm meant to be doing this, you know, and that's God speaking, right? And if it's draining me, it's like, it's time for me to shift my relationship with this because this doesn't feel good anymore. And I also want to go back to the comment about the committee in your head. So the committee in your head is often fear, is what I've found. And when you look at that committee, I usually have conversation with it because it's not going to shut up until I address it. So I advocate for myself. I'm like, what you got for me, committee? What you got for me today? Because I had this moment when I started my podcast. I bought all the material, the things I needed. I was really excited to do it. And then for 3 months, like, I'm the girl that tears open all her Christmas presents, like immediately. If I get a package from somebody, I tear it open immediately. When I was a kid, I would slice the tape and squeeze it out to see what I was getting while my parents weren't there. Right? I hate a surprise, and I always want the presents. Well, that equipment sat there for a couple of months, and I was like, what is going on with me? And I couldn't quite figure it out. And then all of a sudden one morning I woke up and it whispered in my ear, trying to like be sneaky about it. So I didn't quite recognize it as fear, but it goes, who are you? Who do you think you are starting a podcast? I was like, there you are. There you are. There's that committee. And I was like, what you got for me? And so I talk to it and I advocate for myself. There's been a million times that committee shows up and I'm like, and it'll tell me, you've never finished anything, you always start things and you never finish. And I was like, okay, I get that history will tell you that because, I talked about starting a coffee shop and baked goods place in this small town that we lived in Colorado. And I didn't end up following through with that because at some point I walked down that road and realized I'm not passionate enough about it to put the work in to get it to the place it would need to be. And I was like, that's what I needed to know. And so I'm like, but I have finished things. I've finished my bachelor's degree. I was older when I did it, but I was 30, but I finished it. And then I went to grad school and I finished that too. That took me 7 years. So don't tell me I don't finish anything. I finished the things that I care about. And then all of a sudden those voices will disappear. I'm like, now you can go. You're dismissed. Thank you for stopping by. But you have to advocate for yourself. You have to stick up for yourself and you have to dismiss fear when it's at the table with the committee telling you all these crazy things that your head will try to tell you, right? That's the recognition.
That is such a great way to have that segue. Okay, thank you for stopping by, committee, and now you're dismissed. Go along your way, take your little whatever it is, and go along. I learned from Miss Brenda Acosta. She would say to send it away with love. And I'm going to send it away with love still, but I'm also going to say, but you're also dismissed. Okay, go ahead and go along your merry way. I want to acknowledge this comment by Brother Chris. He said he lost his sister at the age of 19. So sorry, I did not know that. But, losing someone at any point is never easy. But losing someone young is just really devastating. And so thank you for sharing. It is so
hard. Yeah, I've lost actually 2 brothers. I had a half brother who's younger than my daughter, and he ended up dying in his mid-20s too. So, yeah, when they're young, it's like I always feel like God, they had so much life to live that they missed out on. But God is in control and we are not, and we don't know why those things happen, and we don't always get to understand that. And like when things happen for us, we don't always get to understand why they happen that way. If we're lucky, we get sort of hindsight and we're like, oh, now I get why that happened. Sometimes we can recognize it in the moment, right? I've had moments where I'm in a situation and I'm like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be right here, right now, talking to this person. Like it just drops in and you know that you were meant to be there. And so, I think sometimes we don't always get to understand, but we have to have faith that somehow we dodged a bullet, somehow something, happened in the background that we don't get to understand. So we just have to have faith sometimes.
Yeah, that is such wisdom. We don't always know what the reason is, but again, there is a higher power that we're not aware of that things happen. So this is a great comment by Miss Unga. I want to just give you your flowers. You're such an inspiration, Tonya Boggs. Many have gone sideways receiving heavy diagnosis like this at such a young age. And you're in the embodiment of the Outlier Project. I love that.
Oh,
Absolutely.
thanks, Nick. So she's the publisher of the book. So I want to just shout out to her. She was an
Absolutely.
amazing guide.
You are more than welcome to shout out your
I think
amazing
you
gift.
had it the first.
I
I
did
think you
have
had
it
it
right. Oh, I
the
put
first
it up.
time.
There you go. Okay, we'll get
She
this
was
right.
fabulous. If you're interested in writing, Nick is your go-to girl. She's a great guide. She's a great editor. She kept us on track on the timeline. I mean, we got that thing published. Like she just is a rock star in her industry. So yeah, just want to say that about her.
She is absolutely a rock star. And really, I mean, I adored Nick, and then I fell in love with Nick when I started to see and hear from her authors. Because I
Mhm.
think she highlights so many people, and some of them are like you're probably a natural speak, not a natural speaker, but you're no issue public speaking and stuff, and so it's probably easier to work with you. But I've watched her help people that you would never think would write a book, and then she just helps them to blossom. And I love people who can bring that out in others. And that's when I'm like, okay, this is a good seed right here. I got to get to know her more. And she
Yeah.
says, yeah, absolutely. She's grateful for me helping her husband to get life insurance. Listen, it is not easy. Like I said, you don't just pick up life insurance off the shelf. Sometimes I got to put the gloves on. Sometimes I got to take the gloves off. I do whatever I have to do to help my clients. That's ethical, right? Always be ethical.
Right.
It's not
Right.
where every company has a little bit different understandings. Let's see. Oh my goodness. I got to shout out this person here. I don't know if you know him. The one and only, do you know Joshua Lee?
I don't think so. No.
Oh my gosh. So he is someone I would love to have on my show. He hides in the shadows, but he's somebody I'm telling you, you get to know Mr. Joshua Lee. And we have the incredible Miss Lisa Fevick. She is our dietitian. She's our guru behind helping women through menopause. And if you want to study about menopause, we are all, as women are almost most of our life going through some sort of menopause. I didn't know that. She's helped me so much. She has some incredible free ebooks. She does a lot of free content. Please get in touch with her.
Nice.
Tell us about your experience of writing your book. Was it something you were already thinking about?
Yes, I definitely feel like there's a book in me, especially now that I'm back to public speaking. There's so many stories to draw from. And I think Lee offered me a chapter because she knew about my diagnosis and she wanted me to write about it. And it was really an easy ask and an easy yes for me. And it just kind of flowed out of me because it's, part of it is came from a speech that I wrote that I was on a stage in April. And so I just kind of took that framework and used it to flesh out the chapter. And public speaking is something I did very early on. And right after my diagnosis, one of the things I recognized was I was not what people thought about, right? Even though AIDS was ravaging Africa and it was fundamentally a heterosexual issue over there, in the United States, it became a homosexual issue and an IB drug user, right? People who were in the margins. And I recognized that I was a different face and I got it through sexual contact, heterosexual sex. And so I felt like I could scratch the record in the way people thought about it. And so I was adamant about being on stage. And so I talked at a fundraiser back then. There was in Boston, they had what they called a dance-a-thon with I think there were 3,000 people there. And I got to tell my story. And from then I was talking to nursing students and high school students and getting in front of as many people as I could. And the feedback was always, but you don't look sick. And I was like, and that's why I'm the one up here talking to you, because I'm not sick and because I'm not gay. And you have to understand that this virus does not discriminate. It doesn't care if you're rich or you're poor or you're black or you're white or you're purple or you're, it doesn't care. And so that's why I thought it was important to speak out. And then I did get pregnant. I did have a baby. And after she was born is when I sort of closeted that off, because I made a decision and a choice to protect her childhood. And I knew if I was out in the world speaking out, that would sort of could have implications for her. And I was so afraid, fear was definitely part of that decision, that people wouldn't want to play with my kid. And so, because it was still the 90s. And so yeah, that was a choice I made. And so being back on the stage and being able to speak again and contextualize it beyond just the diagnosis, but this idea of fear. We all Fear is universal. We all share that, right? And so that's what I speak about now. And I do talk about it from the perspective of my diagnosis, but there's also a million other stories I can tell you where fear tried to jam up my life. But I was like, nope, it's about your decision making. It's about recognizing it. It's about dealing with it and then activating in spite of it, right? Because fear is an inch deep and a mile wide. It's like smoke.
Ooh.
It doesn't exist. Dive in. There's nothing there. There's nothing there except your thought pattern. Because how many times do we run a script in our head when we want to have a hard conversation? And then we have the hard conversation and we're like, it didn't go like that at all. It never goes the way that you're scared of it, right? So tackle it. Take it down.
Take
It's
this
easily
down.
dismantled.
There you go. This is so great. I want to kind of unpack something you said, because some of this audience is a little bit younger. You said scratch the record player. So if there's anybody younger listening to us live, I know we're live on Facebook, we're live on LinkedIn, we're live on my YouTube channel. Any of you youngsters out there, we used to have something called record players. Okay. And we would put them in this little box and we'd play these records that were like CDs, but they were bigger. Well, some of them were 45s, but that's another story. And so we put these big plates on them and you put the needle on like this very carefully. But if you didn't do it carefully, you would scratch the record and then it would just repeat. Okay. It would just repeat. It would just keep saying that same little phrase. And then you'd have to move the needle again. So that's what she was referring to when she said scratch the record.
There's actually a revival of records in the younger community. My daughter, they're audiophiles, I guess is what they call themselves. I don't really know. My daughter has a record player. I want a record player now. I've started collecting records because I miss them and they sound different. And so I do think I don't know how large of a population of it is, but there's a lot of people who are very
Oh,
interested
I
in
still
records
have
these
my
days.
mom's record collection. So
I
we've
bet
got
it's
some,
worth something too.
we've got some really cool, like I could talk, I love music. So yeah,
Yeah.
I've got all the big, anyway, yeah, that's a lot of fun. But let's talk about this fear, because we have the one and only Miss Queen Leslie Flowers, and she talks about the most common fears that we all have. We all have these fears in some form or fashion. So let's talk about that fear. You said something, that fear is like smoke. It is only inches deep, but it's very, very wide. So talk about fear. Share with us a little bit about fear. And remember, our Queen Leslie Flowers, she goes live on her Mindset Mondays at 8 a.m. Pacific. She also does the deep dive, Think and Grow Rich, on Fridays. If you can't catch it live, catch the replays. They're definitely worth it. And she is really our teacher, our mentor. She is a 12 Laws of Achievement master. So absolutely catch her, connect with her. And by the way, if there's somebody in the chat that you don't know, I advise you, listen, this is our time, entrepreneurs. You can't be shy here. Okay. You got to rah-rah yourself. You got to find people you don't know, connect with someone in the comments and get to know them, because people are looking for you and what you do. So give us some more perspective about fear. What you said, like fear is just like smoke. It is 1 inch deep, and maybe I might be paraphrasing it, but
Wide.
there you go. 1 inch deep, a mile wide. Talk about that.
Yeah, I also want to acknowledge Leslie because I think she's an author in our book. So we've got a few people here that are wrote chapters for this book. Um, yeah, so fear is sneaky, right? And it shows up in these ways that we fool ourselves, right? So if let's say you hate your job and you're like, well, the timing's not right, you know, so it shows up as timing. It so shows up, well, I have to be responsible, I'm a contributor in the household, whatever your version of responsible looks like. But they're masking this idea of what your dreams really are, and it's forcing you back into being small, because when you dress it up as logical, it's not logical for me to do it right now. The timing thing, like, people wouldn't have children if they were waiting for the perfect timing. Very few babies get really or planned in a way where you know when it's going to land, right? Because even if you're trying to get pregnant, you don't know when it's actually going to happen. So I just think the timing thing is like, there's never a good time for anything. There's never a good time to tell somebody you want a divorce. There's never a good time to tell somebody you're breaking up with them. There's never a good time to have a child. There's never a good time to quit your job. Like, it's just never going to arrive. We're all waiting to be ready for. And I'm like, being ready means taking the next best move. And it might be a baby step, because a lot of little baby steps show up as big wins in the end, right? We don't take down the mountain in a day. We do it one rock at a time. And so just get on that path, and it will align when it's time for it to align. But you have to start making those movements, whether it's if you hate your job and you want to quit, then start looking for other jobs, start interviewing just to practice interviewing, right? Because you have to practice the interview process to be good at it. And so maybe you're not applying for the jobs that are your dream jobs, but you're applying because you get to interview and you get that muscle going, and then you get that energy going in the world that you're looking for a job. So I think you have to realize that the part of these things are aligning your body, your mind, your body, and your energy, right? And so when you're focusing on the things that you want, they're drawn to you, because where we focus is where our mind goes. So if we're focused on the negative, that's what we keep repeating, because that's where our mind is going. So shift off the negative and put it where you want it, and then suddenly that's the direction you're headed. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I think you can dress it up. You can put a bow and lipstick on the pig, but it's still a pig. It's still fear, right? Don't dress it up as I'm being responsible. This is the logical thing to do. No, what do you want? Let's get down to what do you want and start making baby steps, right? So,
Fire. So many golden
yeah.
nuggets here. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. You listen, we're all afraid of something, but champions
Mhm.
feel the fear and they do it anyway. And maybe it's a baby step, and maybe you take
Yes.
a few steps forward and one step back, and maybe you feel like you're going in circles a little bit, but that's the difference. I say champions are courageous. You got to be willing to be courageous, and you definitely epitomize being courageous, Miss Tonya. You're inspiring so many people. This is a great comment. Listen, people are always going to look for proof. You had a diagnosis that it wasn't like a broken arm. People could see, okay, you've got this. It was invisible, and you didn't fit the narrative that people had. I want to shout out
Right.
somebody here. He's lurking in the shadows. I believe this is Mr. Mike Drop himself, Mr. David Jones. Him and Miss Tara, Miss Christmas are the brilliance behind all of my technology. They're actually the Hello LLC. They designed my Biz in a Box, which is an interactive website. It's so much more. Go on and take my money quiz if you haven't. And he says here, energy is everything. Sometimes I hear people that tell me this. You said this a little while ago, but I want to kind of circle back to it. Sometimes people tell me, oh, I know what my purpose is, or I'm living in my purpose, but I see them and they're always tired. I see them and they're always frustrated. I see them and they're grinding it out and they're not having success and they're not always in the greatest mood. And what you said was that, they're out of alignment. I want you to kind of unpack that a little bit for us, because that was really brilliant what you shared.
Well, one of the things that I realized, so after my divorce or during my divorce, um, I was going through it, going through all the emotions, going through all the fear, going through all the things. And I was sort of digging deep inside of myself and asking myself some questions. And part of what I was bumping up against was I didn't feel like I knew what my purpose was. And so I just started praying, honestly. And I was
Yeah.
like, look, I think I know what my purpose is, but I'm not totally clear. So I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going to get choked up. Sorry. I'm a crier. I shouldn't apologize. I don't apologize for getting emotional. I just put up my hands and said, wherever you take me, I will go. Just show me my path, because I don't understand what it is. And every night I prayed, just show me and I will go. Lead me and I will follow. And it really has changed everything for me. It has put me in alignment. It has lined me up with opportunities. Like getting the opportunity to go on stage in April came for me during 2025. Somebody asked me to come on and speak. And the moment I got off the stage, I was so clear. Yep, I was meant to be here. This is what I need to lean into. This is one of the focuses that I can do to reach more people, because it's about reach now. As a photographer, I can only work with so many people. But as a speaker and a podcast, my reach gets bigger. And so that's where it becomes really important. And so I think if you think you know what your purpose is, but it's draining you, it's probably not your purpose, right? It's whatever your purpose is should fill you up. It should light you up. It should ignite a fire inside of you. And so it's why I love my podcast. It's why I love being on stage. Is because and I love my work as a photographer too, because I get one-on-one time helping someone else step into the real version of who they are and stop hiding, right? So that the through line through everything I do is from unseen to unmistakable. Because when you're buried under the fear, you're unseen, you're not visible, you're hiding, right? And if you're living your purpose, you should be unmistakable in that. Right. Whoever sees you, so whoever comes across you should should feel your energy, because when you're living in your purpose, you're magnetic.
Woo! This is so good. This is so juicy. Oh my gosh. I just love this. So I told you guys this was going to be good. I told you this was going to be fire. Talking about her golden nuggets. Absolutely. So many people ask me, I get this question all the time, Leah, how do you have so much energy? I'm like, are you kidding me? This is my purpose. I'm not coming up here acting. This isn't a show I'm putting on. This is who I am. It is in my DNA. Listen, I used to study this guy. His name is Roex. I don't think he's on anymore. He used to come on radio. And he said, this was years ago. He said, if you do something for at least 7 years, it will become part of your DNA. You won't know anything different. I've been teaching people about dynasty building for 2 decades. It isn't something I do. It's who I am. I get fired up to talk about that stuff. I want to highlight this quote.
Yeah.
Your chapter is so, so great. I want to highlight this quote as we're winding down here. You said, I want to leave you with this reminder. I'm getting chills reading this. This is so good, you guys. I want to leave you with this reminder. This is one beautiful life you've got to live. Remind yourself every day, even on the worst days, that today is a great day to be alive. Be audacious in your willingness to take up space. Be unstoppable in your belief in yourself, and be unleashed in your freedom to love yourself and others. Oh my God, this is so good. You guys got to get this book. You got to read her chapter. Go ahead and share. It's yours. Go ahead. Take it away.
No, I think that sums it up is this idea that every day is a great day to be alive, even on your worst days. I mean, what's the alternative? Honestly, being 7 feet under, 9 feet under, however many feet, 6 feet under, I think it is. Six. I got it. All right. That's the alternative, right? So you're having a bad day. This day will end, and then you'll get another today when the sun comes up tomorrow, right? So it's about, you can have the pity party, you can have a bad day, we all have them, but you still need to celebrate. It's still a great day to be alive, because in your bad days there's something to learn, right? What is the learning moment? What is the teaching moment? What is the thing that you need to take away from that? And sometimes it's you got to take out the garbage. That's what I got today. I just spent a couple weeks in a situation that like tried to suck the life out of me. And when I left that situation, I was like, time to take out the garbage. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not going to be around people who do that to me anymore. And so there's always something to learn, even on the hard days. And then you get another shot tomorrow, right? So every day it's just showing up as your best possible self on that day, right? Some days you're at 25% capacity. Well, that's okay. And other days you're at 100% capacity. Bring it, and yeah, so I believe fully in that idea that, my friend and I, she asked me one time, she's like, how you doing? And I was like, hey, today's a great day to be alive. And she was like, so every time we see each other, we're like, great day to be alive, isn't it? And it kind of, it makes you laugh when you say it, even especially when you're especially when you're down in the muck. You're like, it's a great day to be alive. I don't know why, but guess what? My friend Wendy Knox says that's where dragonflies spend a lot of time before they come up to the light. They're in the muck, right?
I don't know who Wendy Knox is, but I got to have her on my show for sure. I love that melody. That is beautiful. That so much wisdom that you've shared here today. You've made a lot of new friends. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate the work that you're doing, bringing the awareness and really teaching people that they can be unstoppable. They can flip the script no matter what has happened, no matter where you think you are or where you want to be. We truly can. I mean, every day above ground is a good day. Me and one of my girlfriends, we call it Remember the Day. Okay, we do this thing. Whenever we're having a challenging day, we'll call each other and say, remember the day when this happened and that happened, and you thought it was all ending, but then look at you now. Look at you doing this. Look at you're in Tahiti. Look at this relationship. Look at all this awards that you've got. And we'll just start laughing. Like we will absolutely, literally, like laughing through tears kind of thing, right? But it's exactly what you're saying, like, flipping that script. You made some great new fans and friends. How do people reach you? How do they contact you? And if you're in the audience, let us know what your golden nugget is. What did you pick up from this? I know Tonya dropped a lot of golden nuggets. So absolutely let us know what the wisdom is. Share this with somebody else who needs to see this. Tag somebody in the comments. Reshare this. We appreciate you. So how do people reach you, Miss Tonya?
So you can find me on Instagram. I'm I think Tonya Boggs Photographer is my my
handle,
call tag, I guess. And you can find me on Instagram at Tonya Boggs Photo. Those are the main two platforms. My website, you can contact me. All my information is there, tonyaboggs.com. As long as you spell it correctly, Tanya, as opposed to the one with the O. And yeah, I think those are the best places to find me and get a hold of me. And my email's on my website. My contact information is on LinkedIn. So yeah, it's all there.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you so much. Now I'm going to put you backstage. We've got some goodies down there. I'm not sure if there's some prizes. And just kidding. You're going back in the green room. We'll see you back in
Well,
a minute.
also, you should buy the book. You can buy it on Amazon.
Definitely buy the book. I'm telling you,
Buy the
I'm not sure
book.
how many authors are here, but they're all great, wonderful stories, people that
Yeah.
will absolutely inspire you. I had Miss Yvette on a couple of weeks ago, and her story was so powerful also.
Yeah.
Everybody, like I said, we got the brilliance behind Guiding Brilliant Writers right here, which is Miss Nut from Guidance.
Yes. Yes.
So thank you so much, Tonya. I appreciate you and the work that you're doing. Well, that is going to wrap us up. Listen, folks, this was a lot of fun. We always have a great time here. We always learn something. We always have some golden nuggets. So let me know, what are your golden nuggets? What are your takeaways? Let Tonya know. Reach out to her. Let her know that she inspired you, that there was something that she said, that you're going to flip the script, that you're going to become unstoppable. You're going to become unmovable. You're going to become audacious in what you're doing. I say, listen, we got to rah-rah ourselves sometimes. We are entrepreneurs. We're business owners. Yes, I understand we got to be humble. I'm not saying to be braggadocious. I'm not saying to be, like that. What I'm saying is it is okay to step into your power. It is okay to sparkle at the moment. We all have sparkle moments, and we need to be audaciously sparkly for what we're doing. Because listen, not everybody is going to find you just easily. Somebody is looking for you and what you do. And if you're sitting there shy and quiet, listen, closed mouths don't get fed. I say this is 2026. It is our year to come out of the shadows and get in the mix. You got to tell people your story. You got to share them what you're doing. You got to share your crusade. As you speak, listen, this is what I say. As you share your mind, you're going to grow your mind. The more that you speak about it, you're going to resonate, and you are going to, through osmosis, you're going to grow your mind. Thank you so much, everybody. Remember, we are here every single Wednesday, Wealthy Wednesday, and we talk about faith and the 7 F's. And our faith, our family, our finance, our fitness, our fun, food, and philanthropic. I believe that givers gain. Who are you giving to? Whose door are you going to open? Who are you going to network with, collaborate, and also give referrals, right? So thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you. I love you, Team Live. I appreciate you, Team Replay. Please get the book. You're going to love it. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to learn a lot. Thank you so much, everybody.
Are you ready to take control of your financial future? Introducing Leah Garcia's Wall of Wealth, the ultimate one-page financial plan to protect, distribute, and transfer your wealth with confidence. Whether you're a business owner or just starting your financial journey, this step-by-step guide gives you the tools to create a solid foundation for long-term success. Don't wait to transform your money mind shift. Download your free copy today at leahgarcia.io and start building your wall of wealth now.
Thank you, everybody. See you next week.